Hello and good afternoon to all the good viewers of our program. Today we will be, or I should say, between today and tomorrow, depending if we have the time, we will be putting on 4 programs. 2 of them will be in English, 2 of them will be in Persian as usual. We just did one in Persian, and now this is our second program of the day. We are doing it in English. Mr. Mehdi Mira, that he will be having his program later on. So that is where the question is, because between the timing where Mehdi Mira, that he has his program, I will be off air, and then when he finishes his, I will come back. That way, the Iranian viewers won't be split in between 2 different places, and it'll be easier to go forward from that point forward. Ladies and gentlemen, so today we want to talk about something very important. And this is about the war that is currently going on in Israel. We want to learn some stuff from it. I send the link to myself, and I just want to make sure that I can go into it as well. I think I send it to somebody else. Let me see. Copy. Let me send it to myself again, so that I will also have it. It's important that I have it as well, because then that way I can look at it from my phone as well. And if there is any kind of problems, right away we can solve that problem so that it won't become a big problem for you. Okay, so we want to learn a few things. Number one, we're going to look at the war and the things that have taken place so far, and we are going to do a little review of the 3 different ways that this war can go forward. Number 1, the war will be just between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. That would be the best scenario for Israel. Number 2, the war becomes a war of the whole Middle East, which is terrible for everybody in the Middle East. Number 3, the war becomes a World War III. And with World War III, you have a big problem on the hand, because behind World War III are the globalists. The globalists are not a fiction thing. They're not the lizard people or something like that. No. Globalists are the people in charge of multiple countries who have an agenda. Their agenda is to gain control and keep control of the entire world, while making it seem like each nation is on its own, but in reality, they are together. You've seen them form many different groups for that, like the Bilderbergs and so on and so forth, and G Summit 20s, and the G this and the G that. And they give themselves elaborate names, and they go and they sit together, and they have special meetings just amongst themselves, because they are the elite, and then they come up with World Economic Forum, and so on, and so on, and so on, and they decide what's good for the people and what's not, like Bill Gates, and so on, and those are the guys, the globalists, the ones that tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and they think that the people are all sheeples, and they will follow them. Though there are people who are awake and are not falling for their traps. A World War III is the worst case scenario we could have on this planet. A war between Israel and Gaza, where Hamas is the best scenario if we exclude the Iranian people. If we include the Iranian people, it's not so good for them. We're going to have a breakdown of this whole entire thing. We're going to show you what the role of Iranians are if they want to get this country back from the Islamic Republic of Iran. And we're going to talk about what you, the English viewers, can do. Number one, if the war is between just Israel and Hamas in Gaza, that's a good scenario because Israel can easily take out Gaza, even if it comes to destroying and dismantling the whole entire city with its tunnels to the point where Hamas is completely gone. A proper, fair election is put in place where the people of Gaza can truly vote for who they want in charge of them with proper options. Give them scenarios like if they would like to have a kingdom, or if they would like to have a democratic government, if they would like to have a socialist government, or whatever else, without any terrorist organization options to vote for. Have proper rules and regulations in place where they would be paying instead of getting for free the electricity, the water, the food that they currently get from Israel, and rather have Israeli companies help build Gaza Strip with Palestinians working for those companies in Gaza so that the improvements can benefit both. And that way, it would be the best scenario going forward. However, that scenario is very, very unlikely to happen. It's a small percent. The reasoning is Islamic Republic of Iran is in this Middle East as well. And Islamic Republic of Iran wants nothing more than to put the whole region into a war zone. The reasoning is Islamic Republic of Iran cannot afford to have a partnership under the Abraham Accord between majority of the powerful Arab nations and Israel. That plays really bad for Islamic Republic of Iran. Because once that happens, the Islamic Republic of Iran can no longer steal what belongs to the country of Iran and the people of Iran under false banner names and feed it to its terrorist organizations all over the Middle East. Because at that point, none of those countries would want to have Iran's terrorists in those countries. Hence, in order for the mullahs in Iran to get rich and continue their genocide of Iranians in Iran, they need to have a big enemy inside the Middle East. And their big enemy inside the Middle East, it's easy to take on Israel than it is an Arab nation. Why? Because number one, Islamic Republic of Iran is an Islamic group. Hence, as an Islamic group, they can use Islam itself. And Islam talks a lot about being anti-Jew. The world will not come to an end until the trees start to tell you which Jew is hiding behind them so you can kill him. The Prophet of Islam says if killing Jews is good work, you have to kill every Jew on the planet, and so on and so on. And it goes on and on. There's so many traditions from the Prophet of Islam. In the Quran, the holy book of the Muslims, that supposedly is the work of Allah, the God of Islam, directly, not inspired to somebody else, where they think this is what God said. No, this is the direct work of Allah. Allah wrote the book. So, in that book, Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures. They are below all other animals. We are spiritually filthy and cannot be cleaned. We have to be killed where we are found. If you befriend us as a Muslim, you are automatically out of Islam. We are lost and cannot be guided. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. Hence, an Islamic Republic of Iran can use that and abuse it to the point of wanting to go to war. Number two, the other Arab countries around Israel are also Muslim. Hence, it's easy for Islamic Republic of Iran to use Islam on those countries to find a foothold to have its terrorist organizations in those countries so that it can provide the ability for those terrorist organizations to attack Israel. It couldn't do that with another Muslim country. Nobody else would be on board with it. Here, the others will be on board. So it's easy for Iran to say, we are funding our terrorists while they can take half the money and put it in their own pockets. While the people suffer at the very bottom, these mullahs will be super rich. And anyone who says anything will automatically become a spy for Israel, a spy for United States, a spy for Britain, and so on and so on and so on, and hence be thrown in political prison or killed. So Islamic Republic of Iran wants a regional war, wants all those countries to, instead of signing an Abraham Accord, to also be at war. And it knows that if it pulls them into war with Israel, then Israel has to defend itself, and hence the war will escalate out of just Israel and Gaza and turn into Israel and Lebanon through Hezbollah, Israel and Yemen through the Houthis, Israel and Iraq through the Hashd al-Shabi and Khatam al-Hezbollah, and another series of 10 to 15 terrorist organizations that are just in Iraq. They also know they can pull it into Pakistan through the Fatimiyyun. They know they got some Afghani Shias in Afghanistan through the Zainabiyyun, and on and on and on, and eventually get themselves into the war after they got everybody else. The Islamic Republic of Iran's thought process is, we'll weaken Israel with everybody else, and then we'll come in to give it its finishing blows. That is at least what they're thinking. But the reality is, Israel could probably fight back and has the firepower to take on all of these countries, except for Israel's only problem is it's a small country to begin with. So if they all start to bomb it or throw missiles at it and they get in, there isn't much room in Israel. Hence, Israel knows at that point in time, most likely, the United States will get involved. However, as you already know, right now there is another war going on in Europe between Russia and Ukraine, which Iran is also involved in. And Iran is supporting Russia with drones. And Iran is even sending some of its Sepah members to fight for Russia on the grounds in Ukraine. What you may not know is there is another war going on right now as well between the country now known as Azerbaijan, which used to be a province of Iran named Arawan, and Armenia, which also happened to used to be one of the provinces of Iran. So two provinces of Iran who are now countries of their own are fighting each other. And they're next door to, you guessed it, Iran. So Iran is in and around all three wars that are currently going on this planet. Which means more than likely, it will get involved in all three regions. One of the other things that's going on right now that you may think about is Russia has Iran's back to a certain percentage. So does China. Russia and China, before the Tokyo Olympic Games, signed a treaty amongst each other that if Russia attacked Ukraine, China will not say a word. And if China attacks and invades Chinese Taipei, which is Taiwan, Russia will not say it. This is a big treaty because this treaty means if the rest of the world condemns it, there will always be a veto power at the United Nations to veto it out. Meaning if everybody else condemns it and they sit there and they say they don't like it, and China was attacking Taiwan, Russia will come there and say, I approve what they're doing and I out veto everybody else. Or if everyone came to gang up on Russia because of Ukraine, China will say, I out veto it. If this war becomes a war of the region, Israel, because of its small size, will definitely need a helping hand. Right now, we've seen the United States say they're backing them. And England says they're backing Israel as well. That means if it turns into a regional war, more than likely, both those countries are going to have to get involved on the side of Israel. When that happens, a lot of these Muslims who are protesting today in these Western countries will get rounded up because the country going to war with another country can never afford to have its own citizens kill its own citizens in the country. Meaning, United States can't go to war and risk having these demonstrations turn violent and then they take over cities in different states in United States. Hence, before that happens, they need to round them up. Like they did in World War II with the Japanese, when they put them in a concentration camp till the end of the war. That is probably what's going to happen in all these Western countries. A bigger problem. Once it escalates to that point where these countries are getting involved, that gives the green light to Russia and China to put more pressure. How does Russia put the pressure? It attacks with further might and power in Ukraine. Russia has not brought all its might into Ukraine yet. It's saving some of it for a little bit later. China will then invade Taiwan. North Korea will see that and they will attack South Korea. And together they will attack, meaning China and North Korea, Japan. So this will engulf a bigger area in Asia. At the same time, more war will continue in Europe between NATO and Russia. For sure it will happen. For this, the globalists, they have ideas of their own. Let me show you some ideas of the globalists, so you don't think I'm lying. The page that I want will be showing up for you soon, and then I'm scrolling up to the very top of it so that we can start from the very top. Turkey has its own plans, and I'm going to show you proof of it. Then I'll show you a picture from the globalists from 20 years ago so that you will have further proof. This is a tweet by this gentleman named MSB. Hulusi Akar. Sorry about that. I've been up for many, many hours now, and I am very tired. Such as when you have to work and then you come back on your own time and you're running a program and you get tired. Excuse me for that. This tweet was sent by this gentleman who's actual elected person in the government of Turkey. And as you can see in his tweet up here, I've translated it into English best as possible and into Persian as well. And you're looking at his tweet in Turkish down here. Essentially, what he's trying to say is, with this map that he produced, he is trying to say all of these countries that you see here are in one way, shape, or form related to each other as Turks. For example, there's Turkey over here, then you got Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and so on and so on and so on. Mongolia. Mongolia is the forefather of all these Turks and Koreas and all of that. These are all mixed breed descendants of the Mongols. That is why Hungary is also put into the picture over here. This gentleman is saying that he's looking forward to the day when these countries can unite together to make a united state of Turkey. Like how we have 50 American states and they united together to make the United States of America. Like we used to have the USSR. This guy is dreaming of a day when all these countries unite together. But not just unite together, he also has a dream of taking a chunk out of Iran. I don't know if you'll see the mouse, but my mouse is going underneath this red flag of Turkey in this green area here. That is Iran. Continuing down all the way down to the bottom of the map here is also Iran. So what this guy wants to do is he wants to take the whole part, essentially cutting Iran from the Caspian Sea. And he wants to take the body of water and all of that land, which is the farming land for Iranians, and he wants to connect it to his Turkish dream. This was several years ago. This isn't recent, ladies and gentlemen. This is at least, I would say this person put this out about close to 5 or 6 years ago. This was his plan. The next picture I'm going to show you that is important for you English speakers. This picture was put out by the globalists well over 20 years ago. And as you will see at the bottom, it says, countries gaining territory labeled in black, countries losing territory labeled in red, countries unchanged labeled in gray. And what it's showing us is the map of the Middle East. Now they have maps like that for it in Europe and other places too. But right now, what is important for everybody to understand is the Middle East map, because if all things will first start in the Middle East and then blow up everywhere else. Because Middle East is where the war will really ignite. In Europe, they just needed to linger on. That is why Russia doesn't look like they're gaining anything. Ukraine also doesn't look like they're gaining anything, and they look like a stalemate, and all the money is thrown into it just to get both sides built. But in the Middle East is where we see huge impacts. For example, if the war goes from Israel versus Gaza Strip's Hamas to Israel versus Gaza Strip and Lebanon because of the Hezbollah, the rest of the world might still say, well, Israel's got it. But as we know, in Iraq right now, they're attacking American bases. So there's a point where if Iraq decides it's going to also shoot missiles at Israel, would United States get involved? We saw United States get involved in hitting down missiles that Houthis from Yemen shot up at Israel. Will it do the same in Iraq? Will Iran also get involved in this war and add to it? You see, the more it does that, the more it uses its terrorist organizations in the region, the more it brings itself into the region, the more the high chances that NATO and United States have to get involved. The chances of them getting involved means a higher chance that China will say, everyone's getting further weakened down. I can now attack Taiwan and take Taiwan. And this will escalate and escalate and escalate until you have two sides in this war. One side is a coalition of countries, and the other side is another series of coalitions in a country, and they're battling it out. And according to this map, they want to create a new Kurdistan instead of a Kurdistan. Kurdistan has always been a province of Iran. You go all the way down to 10,000 years ago, they're a province of Iran. The so-called map that they want to put up for themselves is a copycat version of Iran's historical map. The language that they speak is a dialect of Persian, which is 95% the same as actual Persian, with a few words that they change here and there. The clothing that they wear, the food that they eat, the traditions that they keep is Iranian. Their DNA is Iranian. But they blowed it up because portions of it, English and the French and the rest since World War I, and especially in World War II, they created new nations and added portions of our province to other countries, such as Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and of course we have a portion of it ourselves. And they refused to acknowledge a blunder that they did where they took our country, a province of ours, and split it amongst these different countries. And instead of thinking we should give it back to Iran, they tried to create wars between Iran and those provinces, and between those provinces and the provinces in other countries. And they tried to make them all end up wanting to hate Iran. So because of that, they have an idea of a free Kurdistan. As you can see, that is a new country that they're trying to create in this area. Azerbaijan is supposed to become bigger by taking Iranian land. Iraq is going to be split into two parts, partially taking Iranian land and taking Saudi land and Kuwait and so on. And they're supposedly going to make an Arab Shia state, so that slowly, they can get the Persian Gulf out and replace it with an Arabian Gulf, with Iran having barely any water, if lucky. Iraq will get pushed further west into a much smaller area of just Sunni Iraq. Saudi Arabia is supposed to lose land too from many sites. Yemen will take portion of it. Jordan will take it. The Shia Arab state will take a portion. Even the religious areas that they had for so long, Mecca and Medina, are going to be cut apart from them, similar to like the Vatican in Italy, where it'll be away from them. They will have some ruling over it as far as protecting it, but they don't have any ruling over it as far as what goes on in it. Israel will lose a lot of land, and as you can see, they put it in brackets, pre-1967. And again, you will see it says Greater Lebanon. Lebanon will become bigger. This is the map that they want to put in place. And they will, because they are very good at using their media. Every week you see they mention Iran's name more and more and more and more and more. Every week you see them start to hint towards a World War III. And when they do a false flag operation, like when Islamic Jihad shot a missile, and the missile, instead of going forward to its target in Israel, malfunctioned and fell at the parking lot, they were quick to get the terrorist ideology out there that Israel did this and so on and so forth. And as soon as that happened, they showed you pictures around the world, even in Iran, where some of the agents that work for Islamic Republic of Iran and are paid started to burn some flags and ride some motorcycles and go around and yell at people's embassies and do all kind of mischief and blow everything way out of proportion, because they don't want anyone being super mad at them. That is the main idea of what they want. They want to destroy Iran, Saudi, and many others. It suits them. It's in their benefit to do that as a globalist. But it's detrimental to us, the people, to the Iranians, to the non-Iranians who do not want war. It's detrimental to us. Because of this, ladies and gentlemen, we have to do something. You might be thinking, well, what can I do? First thing you can do in your countries, you need to vote out politicians who are corrupt, like Biden, like Kamala Harris, and so on and so on. Don't forget, one of the reasons why they need this war is because they have Agenda 2030. And in Agenda 2030, by 2030, they need to exterminate a lot of human beings because their jobs won't relay anymore. They will have computers to take over us. And the computers will do everything for us. You want to watch TV? AI can turn that out. Anything you want to do, AI can do it for you. That's 2030. But the company that want to do this and the countries that allow those companies to go forward with the 2030 plan cannot afford to have you. Because one of the main things with AI is it will take all the jobs that you see today. Some new jobs will be created, but majority of the jobs are going to be gone. Eliminated. Those who work those jobs today won't have those jobs anymore. So now the dilemma is, can the government support everybody? And we know people and politicians are crooked. They don't want to support you. They got to support themselves, stealing your money. So obviously they're going to tell you, no, we can't support you. But you can't have you alive, because if they have you alive, you will need to be supported, which means you have to die. So they tried that, as Bill Gates said in his TED Talks, with vaccines and medicines and so on. The next best way is a war, a world war, where devastation can hit many countries, kill off a lot of people very fast. But another important part of the world war is it'll make you forget about the laws that they're passing to put 2030 in place. That is the most important part. That will give them time to pass all this agenda. Hence, you need to vote them out. If you vote them out, they're no longer there to pass these bills, which slows down their plan. If you vote them out, we can stop the war from continuing on and on and on. The whole idea of the war is for your attention to go to the war and not Agenda 2030. Elect the right people. Do not let governments take your rights. The minute they do, the United States turns into Iran. The minute they do, England will turn into Iran. You all saw how they tried to take your rights during the COVID era. You weren't allowed to get out of your house. You weren't allowed to do this. You weren't allowed to do that. You couldn't do that. You couldn't do this. Until today, you see a lot of people who are paranoid. They don't want to get this illness. So it's up to you. Do you want to remove crooked politicians and install the right people in charge? Or do you want to have crooked politicians who will bring you closer and closer to World War III, where someone somewhere else can drop a missile and it will hit you by accident and kill you and your family? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we can't do more than that with this idea. Politicians being out is the most important thing. You all know how to do that. You know how to share the programs. You know how to get the people together. You know how to participate in your elections. You know what to do. So I will leave that with your hands. Let's stop globalists from completing this plan, because once this happens, similar to this will happen in Europe, similar to this will happen elsewhere, and even United States and the other countries, they will not be safe, because there is a lot of nuclear power in all these other countries who are going to be facing off against each other, and some of them won't hesitate to use it. So it's time that we all work together to stop these countries. If you like our programs, don't forget to share it. Don't forget to subscribe. Your subscription will help us greatly into making the bots of YouTube promote our channel to new people so that we can get more eyes on what we show. If I come back today, we will do a program on our weekly Jafar al-Sadiq, the next part of it, which is part 15. If we don't have that program today, then definitely we will have it tomorrow afternoon. So come back tomorrow afternoon and view that program then. Or you may see it in a few more hours on this channel. Until our next program, I leave you in the hands of Jesus. Farewell.